The country of Laos has seen many changes since its origin hundreds of years ago. Many rulers and divisions of its land area have come and gone, as have the governing bodies that control the country. A unifying factor came into being in 1904 when Sisavong became king of Luang Prabang, where he reigned until 1946. When the unified Kingdom of Laos came into being in 1949, he was installed as king and remained the monarch until his death in October 1959. He had a harmonious reign for those 13 years and was admired and respected by the Lao people. To honor him and his dedication to the kingdom, a statue was commissioned which remains today on the grounds of the National Museum. After his death, his body was placed in a sandalwood coffin and maintained for over a year. One reason for the delay of the funeral was the turmoil caused by opposing factions seeking control of the country. King Savang Vatana thought that getting both factions together at the royal capital, Luang Prabang, for the cremation of his father would get them on better terms, and so it was decided to proceed with the cremation in April of 1961. What you are about to see is the funeral of King Sisavong as it took place on that day in 1961. This is an overhead view of the palace, which had been built in 1905 on the shore of the Mekong River in Luang Prabang. The funeral procession was to begin here and move to the cremation site several kilometers away. This monk stands at the foot of a stairway that ascends to Mount Fusi, which is located opposite the palace. He was a member of Wat Chunsi, whose monks planned and participated in much of the ceremonies. The cremation site was a soccer stadium located on the same road as the palace. Grandstands had been built to seat hundreds of guests and dignitaries that were to attend. The cremation pyre was a magnificent edifice, was centrally located on the field, and was the focal point of the ceremony. Dignitaries began arriving at the site well ahead of the funeral procession. They included ambassadors and diplomatic officials from many countries, also province chiefs, mayors, and many military of the FAL. Back at the palace, the Prabang Buddha was ready to join the procession. Ceremonial drums would provide a mournfully majestic sound along the funeral route. The funeral procession began with the Prabang Buddha as the lead element. The Buddha was followed by a group providing ceremonial music. A large group of monks that were there representing Wats from the entire country. Their female counterparts, the nuns, were also there to honor their king. The flag bearers marching through the palace gates heralded the move of the carriage carrying the remains of King Sisavang Bong. The carriage was a very elaborate and lavish construction involving much detailed carving. At the front and dominating the sculpture of the vessel were the 7 Naga dragons, a mythical beast that guarded the kingdom. The urn was said to have been made from the king's tree, which had taken root in the forest at the time of his birth. The tree was identified by monks who had searched the forest after his death. King Savang Vatana followed in a modern carriage, a Lincoln limousine. Accompanying him in the royal carriage was a contingent of the palace guard. A solid block of people lined both sides of the street all the way to the cremation site. Lead elements of the procession began passing under the great archway at the entrance to the site. Gift bearers carried their treasures to the cremation site. As the royal carriage arrived, the stadium was filled with sounds of drums and music. The urn was transferred to the pyre, and gifts and wreaths expressing respect for the king were placed around the base of the pyre. Royalty and ambassadors from many countries proceeded to the pyre and were welcomed by members of the royal family. When the dignitaries were done, the pyre was opened to the public, and hundreds came and showed their respect by offering prayers for the former king as the fire began. As the day ended, there was a peace and calm over the site. As the Lao press hopefully put it, the cremated king, in his final departure toward nirvana, might bring about a miracle for which the world awaits.